let's have a chat about major incident triage, right? We know that issue remediation, identification, major incident processes themselves within teams, within Servicely, beg pardon, and across multiple teams within our business can be exceptionally challenging because our stakeholders aren't necessarily embedded within our service management framework. So we've used some of our out-of-the-box Teams integrations capability to flex into that major incident triage process to be able to give you a little bit of an example of how we can bring the broader business into our IT processes, our customer service management workflows, our HR flows, to understand their perspective, garner their information, and draw it back in a seamless fashion. Now, in order to demo this, we're going to have a couple of windows open, right? So first of all, I've got my Servicely instance open. I'm also going to open up the same instance again as a slightly different person, right? And this is just going to help us do a little bit of side-by-side comparison on what we're working on today. So let's start off by creating that new incident, right? We'll come in and we'll talk through a couple of these other bits and pieces as we come across. So let's create a new major incident for Dion. Let's call it Sam's new major incident, or let's give it a better example, right? Let's say that, we're having, load balancer. This is going to impacting SAP services, right? We can come in and we can do all of the things that we want to do out of incident management, but at any point in that process, we can tab over into our major incident. We can promote this guy into a major incident. We can specify some bits and pieces. Now, we want to have our major incident manager. In this instance, that's my friend Andy, right? Andy is one of our internal ITSM agents. He's one of our major incident managers. We're going to bring him into the process. But also, maybe there are stakeholders we want to bring on this journey. I specify an assignment group and a classification of, let's give this, supply chain as our classification, or our service, beg pardon, business service unavailable, supply chain. We can automatically infer those stakeholders. In this instance, for our demo, let's pick Kate and our friend Joe as people that we want to bring into that major incident conversation, right? I'll create this major incident, and typically speaking, those users would then have to log into Servicely, populate the major incident journal, provide insights into the review. But more often than not, we find in the wild, people are actually just jumping into a Teams call, right? We're having that war room where we're trying to get everyone involved to understand the downstream impact, the functional impact, and all of the other bits and pieces that are necessary in order to understand, well, what's actually happening as a result of this major incident. So using our Teams integration, we've got this new button at the bottom of the page when we have a major incident that allows us to create that major incident chat, right? And so what I'll do is I'll move my Teams window over here. And on the right-hand side, I'm logged into the same instance as Andy. But I've also got Andy's Teams channels open, right? And this allows us to kind of get that understanding of how that experience is going to work live. So if I hit create major incident Teams chat here in the bottom, what we should see is the Servicely platform creates that chat. It's going to try and redirect me to it, but that's okay. And we can see on the right-hand side that Andy's got a new chat message. The instance has created this group chat with those key stakeholders. Andy's here, Joe's here, Kate is here. And this could be 5 people. This could be 100 people. These people also don't need to be directly within this particular tenant. So if you've got third parties who interface with your organization via Teams, they could be included in this conversation flow as well. And here now we can have a dynamic conversation using those out-of-the-box Teams functions to be able to just really quickly get to the bottom of the issue. Maybe we hit join now, we start a call, and the transcript runs. Maybe we just type with the team directly, right? This allows, right? So, Andy as that major incident manager may say, we're looking into the issue. And then after a little bit of looking around, perhaps some back and forth, Andy will come back saying, hey, look, we're all resolved. We're all done. Now, what we can do as a result of this is we can take that conversation back into Servicely. Now, we've got a couple of choices here on how we do so. Perhaps what we want is a direct bullet pointed, this happened, this happened, this happened. This person said something, this person said something. We'd be able to bring that directly into our major incident journal, right? So that way we have this clearly defined audit trace timestamped log of that external conversation directly back within Servicely. But often we find that if your Teams meetings go anything like mine typically do, the chat becomes pretty chaotic, pretty quickly. So we can use the power of generative AI and some of those core AI capabilities within the platform to take that conversation history and summarize it down into our major incident review process. So if I hit summarize Teams chat, what we should see is the platform can take that information, highlight things like people and timestamps, and bring that all that sentiment back down into the platform for us to be able to review and track that over time. And it gives us the ability to have a lot of flexibility on how we apply this process, because all these prompts are doing are just taking plain text inputs and converting them into something that's perhaps a little bit more technically outcome or aligned to our technical expectations. Now, in this instance, we're showing it via major incident, right? But there's nothing stopping us doing exactly the same process for just general point-to-point conversation, right? And that's where we can start to get into some of the other bits and pieces within the platform and within the demo today. So we've had that external conversation via Teams with a couple of different stakeholders. If I had more browser windows, we could have Joe and Kate leaning into that conversation. We could see who said what and when.